I saw the border become a real issue. And I think this election is a border election. I didn't think it would happen with all the troops we've had to the border and all the work. But 3 weeks ago, the pendulum swung. I mean, it absolutely, there was a tipping point for the, so I think the combination, but then I want to, in a way, walk back my own answer saying, but they're not going to have to vote for him. It's not going to be him.
You think?
Oh, you think that they're going to put someone else instead of Biden?
They're going to walk him out of the White House. They're in process of doing so. And Sarah, think about it this way. If they were to do a cognitive test right now, let's say they were transparent for a minute, for a New York minute, did an actual cognitive test and release the actual reports, they'd have to walk him out today. And Kamala would sit and have a tenure. Kamala would have a season, right? And that I don't see them do. I think they ride Joe to the end of his term, but watch. I've said at least, hey, look, I'm gonna live and die by this thing, right? I said it from the start. They will say he's medically unfit.
Yeah, you did.
To run a second term. Not the right, even the Marxist left. They will sacrifice him.
Well,
I believe.
I mean, I think even if I think you could probably discard the Marxist left because I don't think that that's the majority of their voting bloc. No. But, I mean, you are seeing people, average Democrats, I would say, blue dog Democrats who are like, I can't afford groceries. I can't afford my gas. I'm watching you guys blow all of my money on Ukraine and Israel and Gaza and all of these different, humanitarian efforts rather than taking care of your own people at home. I mean, amidst of me seeing all of these things, on top of that, I have a president who seems to just be a walking potato. So I have to wonder if it's like the combination of everything. Because I don't think for 1 second that the average Democrat voter is going to give a crap if Joe Biden is cognitively aware. I think that there was a lot of evidence to suggest that in the 2020 election.
Well, they didn't before. Yeah, right. To your point.
Right. And so now we have this disastrous record on top of it. And it just makes you wonder if all of this in combination is going to be enough for Democrats to not just not vote for Joe Biden, but vote for Donald Trump.
I don't even know if they need to do that, though.
Just stay home?
If they stay home. See, here's basically how I'm thinking about it. And I forget the guy's name. Who's the guy that always, the sportscaster that hosts the Olympics all the time? He was on Bill Maher's show just this past...
Bob Costas?
It might have been him. Okay. It might have been him. It's going viral on Twitter. Anyone can look it up. But he was on Bill Maher's show this past week, and he was insulting the MAGA movement. He was saying they need to be... He's like, no offense to conservatives, to Republicans, but they need to be eradicated. It's poison.
Oh, my gosh.
Then in the same sentence, in his same answer, he was talking about how Biden is unfit for the position. And I thought, okay, he's a very good example of what I'm talking about, or this question that I have, because he's not a centrist, he's not an independent, he's a very hardcore Democrat, probably not a Marxist leftist. I'm not sure he's smart enough to do that. Right. But I'm not sure that given the contrast in his own mind between Trump and Biden, that Biden's cognitive decay would prevent him from voting for Biden if Trump is the opposition. Yeah. That's my question. I don't know. I personally think that they're not going to bring someone else in to replace Biden. I think that this is their way of humiliating us as the voters, saying, even though we know the majority of our own base think that Biden is unfit, we're going to rig the elections and we are going to put the person in the White House that we want, regardless of what you think. And you know that we know we cheated. Right. You know we cheated, and we want you to sit there and look us in the eye and understand that we control you now.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it past them.
No, I wouldn't.
They want to rub our noses in it.
I wouldn't, but I would say, Liz, I believe they want to go more radical. And for that, you need an active participant that can actually function. They're now at the point where our society have so lost our identity, where now you would think they would want to actually, bring more heat. And a Michelle Obama, a Gavin Newsom is an agent of death, participating actively, cognitively, have forfeited their own ability to think, their own will, their own desire, and would be I would say, an equally willing instrument in their hands, but could actively participate.
You had it right with the other version of tool anyway, but I want to play on this topic. I want to play Jon Stewart on Joe Biden. Watch.
I'm of the view, as you know, that the conduct of the response in the Gaza Strip has been over the top.
This is what I mean.
It's actually a really good invitation.
Garbanzo. Garment. Gaza. By the way, the response in Gaza has been over the top.
I mean, when you've got late night, leftist comedians coming after you, it's not going well. And there was also the Axios report that I read this morning that was about the border, how Biden botched the border. Exclusive, there it is, exclusive.
Exactly.
How Biden botched the border. And it goes into all of these details about how, Kamala is passing the blame, saying that she's like, listen, all I'm doing as border czar is trying to figure out why people are coming here. Why are people leaving their home countries in Latin America to come here? Now, we are giving them a place to live and free stuff and, all of these things that they're not getting in their home country. But we just can't figure out why they're coming here. They had this. It said the White House didn't want to talk publicly about immigration or the border, feeling it would draw attention to a political vulnerability, which is why publicly they downplayed jumps in illegal border crossings as normal ebbs and flows, even as some internally pushed to acknowledge that the problem was significant. I mean, it was very, very. It was not a glowing review of Joe Biden's policy on the border. And it just seems like all of his former allies are now finally speaking up and going, okay, we're sounding the alarm that something is wrong. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, first of all, let me tell you exactly why people want to come here. And it's not because of our economics. It's not because of all the free stuff. It's because they're treated as first-class citizens when we're treated as second-class citizens.
Right.
I flew with my 3-year-old daughter this week, and I had a little pudding cup for her in my diaper bag. It's the right size. It's an appropriate food thing to bring for a child. They pulled me for extra screening. They made my husband undergo a bomb screening for it. Meanwhile, this is the same airport that 2 weeks ago, illegal aliens who didn't have any IDs and didn't disclose their names were housed in for free. Mm-hmm. So why was I pulled aside as if I was some terrorist because I had pudding for my toddler in the diaper bag when we were going on a 4-hour flight? Because I'm a citizen. And why did they get a house in the airport without any ID? Because they're non-citizens. That's why people are coming here. And Joe Biden expressly invited them to come here for that purpose. Of course they're coming here. Yeah. I do not believe that Axios is sincere in ringing this bell. I think that they see that Biden is going to have a crisis in public opinion at the election, and they see this as an opportunity for him to solve some problem. You remember a couple months ago, they thought about, this was actually late last year, they thought about bringing back mask mandates in federal places. And everyone was like, okay, we're calling your bluff. You're just doing that so that you can solve COVID again in the spring so that people are happy with you going into election season. That didn't work. So they need something for him to solve. It's not going to be inflation. It's not going to be the war in Ukraine. So they want him to at least ostensibly, I don't think he actually would, but ostensibly solve the border crisis so that they can go into November being like, see, he heard you and he did something.
Yeah. It took him 3.5 years, but look.
It really doesn't matter at this point, and I'll just be very frank. It doesn't matter whether Biden shuts the border down or Trump shuts the border down. The crisis is not solvable. The crisis has landed.
Yeah.
20 million are here.
Yeah. Well, it's solvable, but it's going to include mass deportation.
Over a very long period of time.
Correct. We're already in this.
And I'll say this to all the conservatives, just say I'm an immigrant, just mass deport. You have to find a person to deport him.
Yeah.
They don't self-admit to the program. Hey, we're going to deport, and they just line up.
That they would self-deport.
Yeah.
I mean, ridiculous. So the crisis has landed, and that penny needs to drop to Americans. This is for a while. We're going to deal with this for a while, not 4 years. We better start thinking 8, 12 years of fixing this country. This is Trump comes in and does a tremendous job in fixing it, but he can only give us 4.
Right, because I actually think that you're correct, because what's happening at the border is almost separate than the crisis that we're going to face as a result of the open border.
Exactly.
So you could go and close the border, and you would still have this, I would call it a generational problem, because it's not just a matter. I know a lot of people say, oh, illegal immigrants are going to vote for Biden. Well, they're probably not, right? En masse. There's not that kind of mass voter fraud scheme going on. But what they do is they change the number of representatives that we have in Congress, because when you have a blue district that has, say, one Democrat representative, and then you have this influx of people 100%. Coming in. Our Constitution calls for districting based on the number of people that reside there. No mention of citizenship, legality, or illegality. So then all of a sudden you have all these people. You have 2 Democrats that represent that same area. That goes to Congress, and it changes the fabric of our nation.
In the next cycle, Dallas will lose a conservative seat purely by number. Yeah. The other thing is, and you say this often, is how it stresses the healthcare system, the education system, your social service system. That doesn't go away by just shutting the border down. This is a landed, semi-permanent crisis that we will deal with for a while.
I want to play another clip here. So, we often say, well, you guys want these open borders and you guys want to house these illegals. Go for it. Be my guest. Why don't you invite them into your home? Well, there are some people in New England who are like, fine, we'll do that. And I want to play for you this woman who has invited these Haitian refugees into her home. And I want you to pay really close attention to what she finds to be the benefit of this arrangement. Watch.
It's a delight, and it's really fun having them. What I realized is there's so much prejudice against refugees, mostly because people don't know them.
Lisa says she feels like she has her own personal chef.
Wow. Wow.
Are we bringing back indentured servitude? Is that what this was? Because that's what it's about to these people. They're like, well, who else would mow my lawn? And who else would do all of my laundry every day if we didn't have these refugees and illegals coming across the border? Who else would do that? That's what these people think.
Which, by the way, debt bondage, and that's a form of debt bondage. You can live here, but you got to mow the lawn. You can live here, but you got to cook. Servitude is human trafficking.
Yeah.
By definition.
That the editor of that package didn't cut that line out. It's actually funnier to me than the fact that she said it. Obviously, she's stupid, but I'm like, someone aired that.
No,
they left it in.
They didn't even understand how bad it made them look. They're like, oh yeah, that is pretty cool. A personal chef. I might get me one of those Haitian refugees. That would be really convenient for me. This is. The elites that are, they also vote. I would just like to point out. If you like this clip and you want to see the full episode, click here. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, come on, you do. Click here.